a friend donate all these Xboxes to me. Actually, he gave me 4 of them. And I got boxes of stuff. I got 2 other ones. But anyways, I'm going to try to, these 2 right here, I'm going to try to get them working. The other 2 I got working. But yeah, I'm fixing to have to take apart these disk drives. New capacitors. Got a hard mod, that one. Comes with this little chip thing. And it's already soldered on the board. Needs the wire soldered to it though. They already removed them. Or re-tin most of the pads. Might have to go back over them, re-tinning them. But alright, you said Aladdin mod chip. So it touches those 1500 UF capacitors there. So I figured out a way to fix it. Alright, see this new capacitor, the one that's not installed laying beside it. It's 10 by 13 millimeter, 1500 UF, 6.3 volt. So ordered these because they're the same, but they're smaller. So I'm going to swap those out. And as you can see, it's going to fit. The new capacitor is actually shorter, so it's not going to rub or touch. Anyways, after I installed these new capacitors, I had no problem installing that Aladdin chip. You know, with the original capacitors, it's real hard to get it on there, but I had no problem installing it with these shorter capacitors. Plus these old capacitors, the old ones that I took off, they were bad, so you need to replace them anyways. Alright, I have to use this eject button to turn it on because the power button's broken. I actually broke the button. So, Aladdin chip's lighting up. I don't know what all that boot up was. Still, no picture. This is a 1.4 motherboard. I just recapped the whole board. Recapped the power supply board. Recapped everything. Wonder if it's the focus chip. Alright, this is a 1.4 Xbox that was donated to me. And somebody already tried to install this Aladdin chip and tried to do a bunch of stuff to it. So it wasn't working. I tried to get it working and it just won't work. So I've replaced all the capacitors on the motherboard, all the capacitors on the power supply. It's not the capacitors. I think it's the EROM. I think somebody reflashed the EROM and screwed it up, because when I removed the audio video wire on the back of the console while it's plugged up to the TV and everything, the flashing light on the front, it doesn't change. It keeps blinking the same thing. Normally, when you unplug the power, not the power, but normally whenever you unplug the video cable off the back of the console, it'll blink green and orange. And then whenever you plug it back in, it'll stop. It didn't do none of that. You know, it was just blinking red and green when it was plugged in and when it unplugged. So I think it's like the EROM. So you see the Aladdin chip is going to do the 3 boots, 2, 3, and now it's coming on. So it's doing the 3 boots and then the Christmas tree frag. They call it Christmas tree because it's red and green. I gotta turn my light off to see that, but it's blinking red and green. And no picture. So, yeah, I think it's the EROM. So, I'm done with this. This is the end of the Xbox repairs. My friend gave me he gave me 4 consoles. I repaired 3 he gave me 1 of them that was working and 3 of them that were broken. Here are the other 2 consoles. These are the 2 that I fixed that were broken. And then there's the 1.4, so. And then he also gave me another 1.6 that was working. It was modded with 2 terabyte hard drive. But I fixed this 1.6 and I fixed this one right here. It's a 1.2. Has a hard drive in it with MAME games on it. Then that 1.4 I couldn't fix it just because of the BIOS. But, this one needed a trace repair that I made the trace repair video on. And then this 1.6, there was really nothing wrong with it. I just changed thermal paste and clock capacitor. Hey, this is a 1.4 Xbox that I modified. I actually recapped the whole motherboard, all the top mount SMD capacitors and the regular capacitors, you know, all the 25 microfarads or 22 microfarads, I think that's what they are. These little bitty ones. Yeah, I replaced all those, every one of them. Now what I want to do is show how I modified this chip. I replaced these capacitors right there here. I think they're 1500 UF. And these right here are, I believe they're 10 millimeters by 13. But they're shorter than the originals. And I got them shorter so that chip will fit on there. Now my mod chip comes on, it lights up red, but this board doesn't boot up. And what somebody did, this is my suspicion, because I've already recapped the whole board, and I tested every capacitor that I pulled off of it. And most of them were good, but some of them were kind of worn out. Anyways, I think somebody deleted the BIOS and bricked the motherboard. I think they tried to do a TSOP flash. And so this board was actually given to me, or donated to me, whatever. And it came with this Aladdin chip, and it wasn't installed all the way because they messed up. So they burnt off the DO pad on the back of the board. They lifted the pad, and I had to fix that, do a trace repair. Then you can see where I got it grounded on the negative terminal where the clock capacitor goes. Because this is a 1.4, it don't need the clock capacitor. And it works. The Aladdin chip, you know, it's grounded to the negative terminal, and it powers on, and it works and everything. So if anybody ever wants to wire theirs up that way, they can, because the instructions on the Aladdin chip tells you can ground it to any negative ground on the board. So I'm just reusing that, because you can run the wire through that hole. If you clean the hole out for your clock capacitors, you can run that wire through that hole and put some solder on it, and it's real easy to solder without messing anything up. Okay, so I fixed the Aladdin chip, got it powered on, and it don't have any BIOS on it. It's because it's one of those cheap, like $10, $15 Aladdin chips off Amazon or something like that. So I don't have a way to program the BIOS on the Aladdin chip. So it just shows a black screen when it powers on. And also recapped the power board here. And another thing, after I recapped all this, the fan is real quiet now. It's like super quiet. Then I read online that capacitors actually remove heat from the motherboard. I guess because capacitors store electricity, and electricity is hot. So, you know, all the electricity going in the motherboard, it's got to go somewhere. And if it can't go inside the capacitors and being stored in the capacitors, I guess it increases the temperatures of the motherboard. But Anyways, I'm just letting y'all know that after replacing all the caps, one of the things I noticed was that fan is super quiet now. It's not as loud as it was. Of course, I changed thermal paste and all that stuff too. It's got Arctic MX6 on it.